Will Hollywood re-embrace woke? Will they go with AOC's Woke 2.0 even after so many franchises went broke? Well, Christian Toto is here, and he knows what's happening behind the closed doors of Hollyweird. We'll explain what's going down and whether or not they're doubling down on a new version of woke in your movies and TV shows, and we'll tell you all about it right now. Hello, folks. The studio is glistening because you're listening to what we have to say, coming to you from somewhere sunny USA, where we love to do what we do, a zeal that even the Hollyweirds can feel, and we've got decades left to go in the can. Folks, if you can, please consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, drop a comment down below, and click it. Stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Coming to you from the hallowed halls of Hollywood and Toto, take a look at this. Is uber woke Camp Miasma exception to culture war rule? This is such a fascinating story to me, Christian. You're the writer here. I'll read a little bit of it, but I want folks to go read this at hollywoodandtoto.com. But the question is woke going to make a comeback? And on the heels of, in the shadows of The Odyssey, who some folks say it's a woke film, others say it's not. I'm very curious how Hollywood is going to respond, especially with this one. Your subtitle here says, Queer Slasher Film Scores Big in Limited Release. Will it play in Peoria? Here's the article. It says, Get Woke, Go Broke. Hollywood has learned that lesson the brutal way. Consider how trusted franchises like Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Star Wars cratered after embracing the woke mind virus. Disney dropped its not-so-secret gay agenda after several projects bombed with audiences. Think Lightyear and Snow White as two startling examples. That's right. I definitely think of them as well as Strange World and some others. Hello, the proud family. Yet a few woke projects actually thrive. And you list out Barbie here, Christian. You talk about Barbie. But, Christian, I'd like to do a gentle, well, not even a pushback, just a slight detour and see what you think about it.
Yeah.
A different angle, if you will. I kind of think that Barbie even blew up in the face of the woke crowd a little bit, because who became the star of Barbie? Ken. And then Ken is, like you got Gosling singing at the awards, and there were not a few Barbie fans who said, "Oh no, we've made Ken the star of the." So even then, it sometimes takes them in different directions. Christian, you believe that Hollywood is examining woke again, and maybe on the heels of AOC's Woke 2.0 concept. Walk us through where you think this goes if woke is dead or alive in Hollywood these days.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to come roaring back. I think that there is an audience for it, but I think it's a small audience. It's a niche. And I think that Hollywood will continue to make content for that audience. And I think there will be some missteps along the way. But I think that the last few years, the problems, the losses, the devastation of the franchises, I think that really left a significant mark on Hollywood. So I don't think we're going to see, listen, I think politically we'll see woke 2.0. I think we're seeing it now. But I think from a Hollywood point of view, they're much more cautious. And I think because the industry is in so much flux, AI, we don't know what's going to happen in LA, all the stuff with the Paramount merger. I think it's too new and too raw for them to kind of go charging back into the wokeness. So, but listen, if a movie like this Camp Miasma movie, which is doing very well in very limited release, that can thrive if it's got enough of the elements that they need in it. So, and I also think that Hollywood will be much more open to trans filmmakers and queer filmmakers and people of that ilk and that predilection than a Kevin Sorbo type. So I think that will continue unabated. But I do think they've understood that you just can't pour so much money into these blockbusters when they're just going to fail. But if you're going to do an indie film, yeah, go for it. And I have no problem with that. I think there should be all kinds of stories. If you love woke and you want a woke horror movie, then there should be movies like that for you. I just want more diversity of actual storytelling, and we're still not there yet.
There you go with your hyper partisan takes again, saying, well, I think there should be woke movies for the people who like woke. I agree with you, Christian. That's what's amazing here is people would imagine we would never say something like that. Yeah. I just think that, we talk about making money, and Hollywood cannot put out a film that is woke with a huge budget behind it. How much do you think one battle after another stung them? I know that they really, really celebrated it, of course, and lauded it as this huge success, but behind the scenes, that's not the way it was perceived. It was perceived, of course, as the flop that it is, with all these big names behind it.
maybe 50 million. I haven't seen the numbers recently, but it did moderately well stateside, maybe 70 million-ish US, but the budget was huge and get the marketing. And listen, when you put out a Oscar campaign, even though it was successful, that costs money too.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's not forget to factor that in. So, but listen, that's the kind of roll of the dice that a studio like Warner Brothers would love to do again and again, because they have enough other hits to kind of balance out that ledger. But in the big picture, that's a one-off. That's, Paul Thomas Anderson, that's DiCaprio. There's a lot of things that mitigate the damage done. And it's an Oscar winner, won a bunch of Oscars, including Best Picture. And I think that Hollywood will make that sacrifice all day long. But other stuff, listen, when Disney did that just screeching halt, that tells you something. They were all in on every level. And they may tiptoe around it. I thought Toy Story 5 had some moments that were like, that felt like the old bad days.
Right.
But, yeah, no, I don't think they're there yet. And listen, if there's other cultural moments, God forbid a George Floyd-esque situation, it could come roaring right back.
Well, see, I think Dana Walden, the more we're paying attention, and Christian, I don't know, who you have in terms of sources from Disney. We have people emailing us every week. And I would say 2 months ago, it was about every day. We had people emailing us saying, guys, it is not over. Our studios are going right back to politics. And I think Dana Walden at Disney is doing some of that. So we'll see, but it would not surprise me if, but it's going to be under a different mantle. And so Nat, let me ask you about this. Let's pivot just a little bit so that I can bring this concept in. The Hill is reporting this. Tara Suter says, Democrats hold more favorable view of socialism than capitalism. And it's actually not by a small amount. So that would still put those who are in favor of socialism in the U.S. over capitalism at a minority, but it's now the majority opinion of one of the two major parties. And so Hollywood is dominated by this particular political party. Nat, I wonder if, as Christian is talking about, is woke dead or not? I wonder if woke 2.0 is on the way, and if it's going to be this very paradoxical, hey, we're making a capitalistic film, but the capitalistic film promotes a more socialist worldview. I wonder if that's where we're headed next.
Probably, because as Nayib Bukele used to say, or says, you can't actually create change if you don't get rid of the corrupt judges. You can't actually get rid of woke if you don't get rid of the woke people within your industry. And we know that a lot of those people are still there. Yes, a lot of people have been fired, but I think in the majority, it's still a lot of people that have these crazy ideas. They're just mitigating them because they know the shareholders aren't very happy and that they're not doing as well in the box office. And if they can't get their explicit message out there, then they're going to get it do it in a softer way. They're going to, as they started doing it 10, 15 years ago, just peppering it here and there, but it's still going to be there because I think the ideological shift hasn't happened. The ideology is still seeped within there. The institutions are still captured, especially in Hollywood and the entertainment and the arts. So we're still going to be seeing it. It's just going to be less noticeable, I think, for the regular consumer. But if you're aware of it, you can still see it everywhere. And I think we're going to continue to see it everywhere. And while I agree we should have movies for whoever wants to go watch a really woke movie or a trans story or whatever, sure, go at it. But having a difference of opinions, I think we're still not going to be there for a long time unless they do clean house in a way.
I see it the same way. I understand what you're all saying, but I also see a disconnect now between investors and Hollywood. I think the investors are starting to engage more with our side of the conversation, which is why we're such a threat, which is why, Puck Media, and we in a segment we've already covered, was talking about the fact that they try to shut us down with DMCA claims and other things when we're just reporting the news. So when we talk in frames of reference, like one battle after another, which lost over $100 million if you count the promotional campaign and its global box office, and then of course its $140 million budget, you can understand why things like this film that Christian wrote about, Camp Miasma, may have been somewhat successful, but it was one of the very limited and few, exceptions to the rule. The thing is Hollywood isn't going to make Lily Wachowski's, Matrix follow-up film that she wants $10 million for called The Hunted. that's not going to show up anytime soon. I don't think. I mean, have you heard something different, Christian?
No.
Yeah.
That's dead in the water, I think, unless
Yeah.
there's something radically different or there's a budget change or something, but I don't think that's going to get off the ground.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, in Hollywood, to make something of quality, you need about $10 million just to pretend that you are making an effort at something. I mean, there are horror movies that cost more money than that, but ultimately it's like the investment in woke is going to be very limited. It might be for very specific directors. It might, I mean, that's the only reason One Battle After Another showed up, was because of the director attached. So I take a look at a lot of these projects, and I'm like, well, these are not made for a capitalist reason. They're made for a political reason. And I think this is something Nat talks to about all the time, because she's constantly covering what's going on in Canada and other places, and things are done for optics or things are done for money. And we need to kind of imagine which each of these are, and then when we talk about them, put them in those frames, put them in that context, so that we can have an honest conversation about what we're talking about. Like, was Supergirl going to be a swing and a miss every time? Yeah, it wasn't going to be successful. It wasn't positioned to be successful. It was based off a terrible Tom King version of a comic that wasn't successful in its comic run. So, all I have to say is we just need to start framing things in the reality in which they exist. And I think we'll all be better for it. Maybe a little less frustrated. I think my blood pressure will be lower.
So I want to tell everybody to go check out the article at Hollywood and Toto. I love it, Christian. And I think it's the right kind of topic for the day. I want to ask you guys as a panel, a question that's been floating around in my head as we've been talking, and that is, I see a historical convergence here that's interesting to me. We've got the passion right now inside the Democrat Party, and thus probably in Hollywood, surrounding people like Mamdani and this mayor in Seattle, and so the passion is behind this sort of Mark Ruffalo movement of quasi-communism, socialism, but it seems to me it's early stage communism, and I'm watching that happen at the same time that these artists in Hollywood feel more under threat than ever because of AI. And so they see this as existential, and they're fighting against the data centers. And so I just wonder if maybe their fear that their industry is facing an existential threat, is that driving them to be to wanting the open arms of woke 2.0? Is all of this kind of together in some way, or am I misunderstanding that?
I don't think they think clearly about almost anything, honestly.
I've applied too much logic to the situation, Christian.
No, not your fault, obviously. I just hear the rhetoric coming from like a Ruffalo or a John Leguizamo, and then I look at their lifestyle, I look at their excess, their riches, and it's incongruous to say the very least. So I don't think they think it all through. I mean, it's like an actor who gets super political is not even realizing what damage that might do to their career. I don't think they put it all together. I don't think they logically go A, C, B, C, D. I don't think they even go in that reaction. I don't know.
The very best example of that, Christian, in the past year was Billie Eilish. When Billie Eilish came out and made her statements about stolen land, and then she had that all this was on stolen land, and then she had the indigenous peoples outside her home that's walled off. All right. So she's got walls, even though walls don't work, she's got walls. And you had the indigenous people out there wanting her mansion while she was on a California king bed that floats in her swimming pool behind the walls. And I thought, this is perfect. Like this is the absolute epitome of it. Mm-hmm. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're going to go farther into clown world as people like Ruffalo go to New York and he's got multiple homes and millions of dollars, and Leguizamo as well. And, they promote these ideas that impoverish those who vote for them.
What's amazing is there's not one journalist out there in the world, let alone the country, who will ask Ruffalo a tough but fair question about his excess. Not
when you
one.
talked about that, though. You talked about what happens if you do.
I mean, I sure as hell would.
Yeah, but that'd be the last time, right?
He's a big actor. I really like his work. I have no problem with him. I just listen, what I do might sound cynical and sometimes mean-spirited, the work I do at Hollywood and Toto, but the bottom line is that these actors should be challenged. If they have a bully pulpit, then there should be a back and forth that they should be able to defend their views. Politicians should be able to defend their views. But we have a media apparatus that will do no such thing. That's just not good for the country.
And that's the whole reason why we have and why free speech is so important, and why in a democracy you're supposed to be able to have these kinds of pushbacks and back and forth, and for people to explain their own points, because it's very easy to support socialism and communism from the epitome of capitalism at the moment in the world, which is the US. It's very easy to do that and think that because you support it and because you're part of the revolution, you'll be at the top once the revolution comes. But usually you're the first one to go.
Right. They're always the kings, the queens, the prince and the princesses of the future oncoming utopia that they'll usher in.
Yeah. Real quickly, they're fighting over Barbie 2 right now. I guess all the main players are asking for astronomical money, budgets and contracts. And I don't blame them per se.
They should.
Sure. But, I give, Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie credit. I don't think they're on their soapboxes. I think they're just working actors and they're just looking to cash in. And I get that. But I think it's to see it covered in the press without any sort of acknowledgement that these actors are privileged and they're this and they're that is almost comical.
Well, I mean, if after Project Hail Mary for Ryan Gosling, there are actors above him at this point, like Tom Holland, but there's not many. He and Margot Robbie, I think, should ask for just about anything. Margot Robbie's interesting. We're supposed to be wrapping up right now in this segment, but Margot Robbie's interesting because she's she's constantly being talked about for the Pirates main role in reviving that franchise. And now there's the discussion of, well, we got to have Johnny Depp. We got to have Johnny Depp. And I think that'll be interesting. Johnny Depp, who was the focus of trying to be deleted from Hollywood over the Grumpies and all of that. You got to have Jack Sparrow. You can't just have Margot Robbie. What an interesting world we inhabit right now. How interesting. Folks, go read about it. HollywoodandToto.com. Don't miss out. Great website. Christian is writing every day for you and keeping you inside what's happening. We've reached the end yet again. But ladies and gentlemen, we've had fun today, have we not? And until the next time we get to do so yet again, be a friend to the channel. Click that like button. Share your thoughts in the dialogue down below. And if you're not yet subscribed, well, we need you right here on Team Pro. Until we meet again, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.